Great. Well, thanks for coming, Christine. I'm here with Christine and Troy from International Protein, and Christine just come back from an amazing showing this year. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, well, where do I start? I mean, there's so much to tell. It's one of those things where so many things happened, and obviously, being the first time there, I was sort of trying to take everything in. So,
well, let's start with this one. I was excited because I saw that you were trying to get some points to qualify, and based on what we spoke about, I found out that you qualified earlier than you expected because you were still hoping to maybe do one more show. So, how did that feel when you qualified?
Oh, it was a relief because obviously it's a big year when you go from end of May with your first show right through till the Olympia. I think it ends up being about 20-something weeks from start to finish. So obviously the more time that you have to be able to have a bit of a break off, the very restricted diet to sort of recover a little bit through, that's a lot better. Obviously the Tampa show is about 6 weeks before the Olympia. So if you're waiting for there to qualify, not only have you had to diet all the way through to there, you only have 6 weeks to sort of recover and bring a really good package to the Olympia. And then you're getting up against girls who've pretty much done one show that year, which is the Olympia, or ones who maybe just sort of qualified through doing Tampa, so they've only had one show and they're still sort of running in through, versus the girls that qualified via winning earlier.
It's a lot less stressful as well. They got one thing. So by the time you came back, did you change anything knowing that you had a little bit more time?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I kept on my diet, exactly the same food, but I did increase my calorie intake a little bit, so about 20%. So I didn't really gain too much weight, but I did definitely have a lot, better training sessions and that sort of thing. So we did that for about 4 weeks, and then for the next 6 weeks, we sort of brought it back down again. So.
And did you find out your anxiety, was it hard to believe, or did you just sit in the back of your mind?
It was okay until I actually, there was no issue around it. It was all good. And then it wasn't until I actually got to Vegas, and it doesn't matter how much you try to sort of control any type of nerves, there's just that little feeling of, oh my God, this is the Olympia. I don't know what to expect. And no matter how much you try to, calm yourself down, you just get that little bit of an uneasy feeling. Got to the registration, and one of the other girls, Margie, who had qualified, she had actually qualified after Omaha, but her debut was the Toronto show, and I sort of clicked, and she goes, "Oh, Christine, are you nervous?" She goes, "I am so nervous," and that was obviously her first time as well. I thought, "Oh, I'm not alone." That she goes, "Yeah," she goes, "I can't help it," and if you knew Margie, she's an incredibly confident woman. She's very outgoing, and for her to say, "Oh, I feel nervous," then I sort of felt like, oh, it's not too bad because she's a lot more confident person than me. She's out there, dancing, talking to everyone and all that sort of stuff.
So it wasn't until you got there that it actually hit home that this is it, I'm right here.
Yeah.
How do you feel having to be at home doing the work and running international and knowing that Christine's over there doing that?
Yeah, well, it's not bad. I got to go to Toronto with Christine. She wanted me to come over because we normally do have a lot, unfortunately, on at work at the exact same time that the shows run, as it always happens. It's a busy time of year for us. And she said a couple of shows before she felt she'd come in as good as she could come in, but was maybe a little bit flatter. What was she doing wrong? And obviously we got over there, and then because I'm looking at their second set of eyes, we can adjust and twist and bend, eat a little more carbs, drink a little more water, do this, do that. And that's really what it comes down to with bodybuilding, is having the confidence to do what you haven't done for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you get on stage good. But then with the Omaha show, obviously I was watching the web telecast, but Christine texted me an hour later to say she come third, but already knew. Because everybody had been talking to her backstage, and I go, yeah, I already got that one.
Yeah. You can't get to your phone.
And then obviously with Chicago, we'd already worked out the points to know for the rest of the shows for the year and who had placed where, that if she got a third or fourth, if she got a fourth, she'd be almost guaranteed, but if she got a third, she'd be guaranteed to get in. So pretty much as soon as she got the third, we're going to the Olympia. And then it's hard sort of with the Olympia because of the press conferences and things like that. Normally we'll have a lot of contact. She's, this is happening, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's happening. But of course you've got 24,000 people trying to get you to sign a photograph the day before the event, so you don't hear anything. All I'm hearing is from people like Mark Reach and people like that saying, "Mate, she's looking good, I seen her at the press conference," or so-and-so, you know what I mean? So it's sort of hard. And then I felt the lighting at the Olympia wasn't as good as it could have been.
Yes.
So everybody looked a little bit smoother.
Yeah, well,
you know, and then obviously you get some photos through, and you're like, oh, thank God, that's a little bit better than we thought.
Yeah,
you know, and it's sort of hard after that many shows, because you tend to, at your first show, be the fullest for the hardest you look. Then you get a little bit harder at each show, but because you're a little bit flatter, you don't quite get that dominant look on stage. So we were sort of trying to keep that full look on stage with a lot bigger girls at the Olympia without looking smooth. So you know, it's always that complication. And obviously after this year, we've already got a plan for next year, and the way that Chris wants to come in.
I'm sure, like, how did that? Do you feel that the interviews and all the commitments you had prior to the show would have affected you in any way?
It has to. I mean, the night before, you're pretty much from 7 till 9. You know, you're committed to be at the meet the Olympians, where everyone can come and see you. But the thing with that is, the first hour is only for the VIPs, and most of the VIPs are really there to see the big guys. So the fans for female bodybuilding don't really start to dribble until about 8 o'clock. Okay. And the first thing I realised, it was about 9:45. And people were still coming up, and I sort of looked around and realised that all the other pros on the tables around me had pretty much gone, like packed up and left, because they just sort of get up and go, oh, it's 9 o'clock, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you've got like a constant stream of people coming up, and, you know, for me, 10 o'clock the night before, I'm sort of normally in bed a lot earlier. Yeah. Then obviously you've got to eat, and, you know, room service takes forever because you're not supposed to cook, and all those types of things. You've got to wait for steak to come and all that sort of stuff. So you're trying to get to sleep at a reasonable hour, but then you've got to be up for 5 o'clock to get your makeup done, or, you know, your next sort of tan and stuff. So it does impact on your resting. You know, I specifically wore long pants so that no one would be asking me to flex my legs.
Oh, yeah.
Because, because I mean, a lot of the guys, again, they wear their tracksuit pants and they just stand there and do, like, you know, the thumbs up. Yeah. But, you know, we tend to have that natural thing to, I need to flex.
Yeah, so you try and always impress and help the members and fans as well, because they want to take a shot of you looking great. And so
but they were very understanding. I'd say, look, you know, no flexing photos tonight, because obviously you don't want to be spending 3 hours flexing and then, you know, come up flat and not carb up. And also, you know, you're a little bit hyped after that, you know, because that was about the time I started to feel relaxed. Funnily enough, you know, once you had a couple of hours meeting people and just seeing how excited people were to sort of say, oh, you know, you're finally at the Olympia and that. So,
Well, we had some good feedback saying that you were a massive fan there, big draw attraction.
I'm one of the. Well, it's funny because there's people they had me in the thing as the rookie, obviously first time in, but I said I'm like the veteran rookie because I've been competing for a long time. So a lot of people who have been fans of female bodybuilding for a long time remembered me. I mean, I got to catch up with guys I'd done photo shoots with back in early 2000, and just a lot of people. You realise how many people you actually have met over the years through the sport, and a lot of people who've sort of followed you from when I was competing back in in the pro ranks early 2000 and that. A lot
of our followers, one of the things that they have mentioned to us is that you've stood the test of time. Like you've pretty much staying there, hanging there, been part of the industry, and you've pretty much held your physique and improved on it, especially with your tricep injury and all of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we've always said, that weights is a sport of time. Like, you can't build muscle overnight, and you can't build that sort of mystical, what people talk about, muscle maturity. You can't get that look after 5 years of training. So every year that we've, gotten older, people say, oh, you're getting older, but your body just, responds to the weights and responds to that sort of more, denser, more solid, more solidified look. So, yeah, I definitely stood the test of time. One, because we've always been really, good with our nutrition and smart with the training. Obviously, the tricep, maybe I wasn't that smart, but...
that was one thing. We noticed even just after the short amount of time, I remember we were walking and I saw both your arms, and you would never have said that there was an injury or surgery there.
Yeah, well, that's, again, Troy's part in, as soon as that injury happened, he was already thinking about what are we going to do to rehab this, how are we going to get it back so that we can actually build it up. And, we did change our training a lot as soon as that injury, as soon as I was able to train again after that injury, totally removed that sort of focus on just, heavy weight for 10 rep type things. So we've done a lot of, high rep movements and drop sets and things like that. And, as you say, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's been there. And
I have to ask one question. It's a little bit off topic, but with your injury, a lot of people want to know if you've hurt the left tricep. Do you still train the right, or do you do both? What would you say?
Yeah, you keep on training just the way you were training, if possible. But obviously, if you can't put the weight through one, you can't actually lift that weight.
Yes.
But there's no reason to train the rest of your body, including the tricep, exactly the same.
Yep.
Like you do a tricep on one side, and originally we weren't sure how well it would come back. So you don't want to have too bad triceps as much as you'll hit most of your shots on the good tricep side. You know what I mean? Yeah. But fortunately, we did look at any exercise that, like you might do reverse tricep kickouts with a cable.
Yes.
You don't have to do a lot of weight, but you get an incredible pump on the rear head.
Yep.
So what we call the tail sort of stayed really, really tight and good on the arm, but the rear head totally disappeared. So we started off doing any exercise we could do that didn't put stress on the joint or the tricep, but got an incredible pump.
Yep.
You go, well, when it's really pumped, it looks almost as good as the other arm. Yeah. When it's not pumped, okay, you can tell that the triceps nearly faded away. And then over a 6-month, 9-month period, you start to put weights back in, and then it starts to look normal, unless you totally flex out. And now after a year and a half to 2 years,
2 years,
now, we worked on it that hard. We're actually now catching the good tricep up to the bad tricep because it's actually got bigger than the good tricep.
Well, that's good.
I suppose because you get a little bit paranoid about it. So every time you're in the gym, you go working harder.
Yeah. But from my point of view, if I'm a little bit tired, I definitely notice the strength is down, even though the size is same as the other one. It definitely is a little bit weaker than the other side. But were you conscious of that on stage? No.
You're just completely comfortable?
No, I have actually changed the side. I in terms of posing it, I still believe it's actually the better one to pose, but what I did find was when I'm dry and actually hitting that tricep pose and hitting it properly, it comes up a little bit stiff and sore for a week or two afterwards, and I was like, I'm not too comfortable with that, so I've actually swapped to doing the other side, but I can do either side if I have to.
Perfect. Yeah. What was it like being on stage?
It was all too short.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's that thing where you tell yourself, like, don't rush and maximise your time out there, but you get out there and you're like, oh, it's over already. So it was one of those things where you want to do it again, and that was pretty much like the same as when the first time I competed. It was over all too quickly, and that's what made me do my second show was I need to understand what that was about more. So I want to get back up on the stage and just go through that all over again. But yeah, it was.
I remember saying to my wife, I was saying it must be like a roller coaster ride. When you go for the first ride, you have such an adrenaline rush, but you forget the curves and twirls and stuff, so you have to do it again.
That's right.
So quick.
Yeah, but it's good because you're looking out there and you're sort of like it's quite light still because the pre-judging's held in the actual expo, so there's no house lights down or anything like that. So you can see everyone.
Oh wow!
You can see all the judges. You can see
their reactions.
Yeah. So
actually, talking about reactions again, maybe we're all a little bit biased because being one of the Australians up there, but everyone was really impressed with your size and your conditioning and the way you displayed yourself. Especially for your first time, you always expect people to be, or your first debut as an Olympian, but yet it was your first time on stage, but it was like your third or fourth showing at that level, really.
Well, yeah, it was that thing where a lot of what Troy and I have been doing has been working on my posing and working on the mindset of confidence. So to go out there, my mindset was to not feel like, oh my God, this is the Olympia stage. And that's why I was sort of a bit, annoyed at myself earlier in the week, like, why am I feeling this anxiety? Because, I can get over that. But once I actually got onto that stage on the actual day of competition, I felt really, really good, felt really relaxed, and that was my thing, my mindset, to not let people realise this was my first time on the Olympia stage. So that was really important to try to bring that across, and I think that I achieved that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was and a lot of feedback from people. A lot of Aussies were over there, but a lot of people from other countries, like even. There was I think he was from Scotland or Ireland. This guy's coming. He's gone. You've got a good coach. Your coach knows what he's doing. I'm thinking, oh, don't mind me, but he said you got everything right. So
we had people back home talking about it, and I was like, that's my sponsor. I was really excited because it really left a massive impact.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to sort of show, I guess, the people who run the Olympia and the judges and that I belong up there, and because I want to go back there. So that's, I guess,
And how was it like staying on stage with the other girls?
Well, apart from the girls who had already qualified, Iris and Yaksheni, but even Yaksheni I've stood on stage with before. All the other girls I'd either competed against or knew, except for Jenny Serpa, is it? And Sheila Black I hadn't competed against, but I knew Sheila because I'd met her in Toronto the year before. So it's like a bit of a reunion, really, because you've stood on stage with most of the girls before.
Just happens to be a different show.
Yeah, different show. And as I said, certain people were feeling as anxious as I was beforehand. But as I said, on the day, I was like, oh, I actually felt pretty good. So yeah, it's definitely, we're all there to sort of show ourselves off to the best, and that. So it's actually like, it's really comfortable. Yeah, it's really comfortable.
And I think if you look at the sport, you've got a couple of Brazilians at the moment, and in the female sport, and there's a whole lot of hype behind them. I think there's no reason, because their placings are no better than what the Australians are doing at the moment, between Carla Bormall and Christine, obviously now. If you look at the world rankings, they're both ranked in the top 10 of the pro ranks at the moment. So everybody should be excited, and what everybody should realise is you can live in Australia, train in Australia, and get ready and do unbelievably well at the pro level.
Well, we were discussing this last weekend in one of the shows, and it seems to be that the women are the ones putting Australian bodybuilding on the map, to be quite honest. I mean, I think us boys have to pick it up a little bit, but how does that feel?
Oh, it makes you proud. It's like, all of that time where people always do look at people overseas and go, oh, but, we can't do that. It's like, no. We can, and I think that, as Troy said, with Carla coming through, we've got more figure girls competing. Hopefully next year we've got some physique girls, and I think the more we go as a unit, people expect to see Australians, and they start to say, hey, they bring it. They bring a good package.
And it seems to be consistent. I mean, all the girls, all the ladies that have done so well overseas is the same thing: good condition, good size, good symmetry, and the presentation it's really putting us on the map.
But you know what it is too? It's like Australia is incredibly supportive of bodybuilding, like the bodybuilding in a whole, and I'm talking figure, physique, bodybuilding, and that's just sort of proven by the fitness expos and that sort of thing, where you go there and people are sort of like, they are still fans of it. And I think that we're incredibly lucky, and I think that that's something that I hope sort of gets us through, because there's so many Aussies that are actually travelling over there and watching the Olympia, people who didn't even know that I was competing in it, and just like, oh my God, there's an Aussie over here. So I think that as a group, we are, we're fans of the sport. A lot of the Americans are fans, but they'll prefer to just sit back and watch it online or something like that. They don't actually go to the comps and watch it.
I think sometimes they don't realise how lucky they are. That
they take it for granted.
So close, and I mean the Brazilians as well. There's not really far to travel. So for us, it's like it's a whole other world that we're trying to come over and be a part of. So
definitely, yeah.
And if I had to say one thing, what would be the one aspect that you think you could have done differently? You could take more advantage of, I suppose.
Oh, look, always, well, like I say, slow things down, do a little bit more, I guess a little bit more fancy transitions, even more with the posing, and really make that all stand out a lot more. Obviously, in terms of the physique, there's like a list this long of things that I want, that we want to work on and improve, but I guess I don't want to sort of say those things because, but it's that thing where you go, oh, if only that had come in better, or if only that. But I think for the time in and, everything else that we'd had done that year, I actually have to be really, really happy that I came in the way that I did, because I made more of an impact.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think the one thing I always tell guys is you can't control your placings. It's up to 4 people, 5 judges, whatever it may be. As long as by the time you get off stage, people remember your name. Yeah. And it seems to me everyone remembers Christine Envall.
Yeah. Well,
especially after that showing.
Well, that was the goal. Like I say, to sort of say, well, I want this is my place, and I want to come back here again. That's the main thing. But
I think that's what we noticed even in Toronto backstage when Christine was pumping up. We had girls that were coming up and shaking to talk to her, who she's competing against, because they were just starting out in the sport when she got her third in a pro show at the Southwest Pro Cup, was it?
Wow.
And they're like, you're a legend of the sport. I got into the sport and you were like the top bunch there. And you go, gee, you're making us feel sort of old now. Because,
I'm not trying to take that.
To actually compete for probably 21 years or close to in the actual sport is a long time.
Yeah, and not just to compete, but just to be right up there the whole way through. But I mean, with International Protein, you guys do give a lot back to the industry as well, and I can see that you support any sort of bodybuilding, regardless of federation or person. So that obviously is a good showing. I have to ask you, with your diet and your nutrition, what would be the main thing that you pretty much keep in all the way through?
There's really nothing that I don't keep in. I mean, there's always some type of protein. The extreme carbs is used, the amino recovery, glutamine. I mean, probably after protein, because I will actually sort of swap between the different proteins depending on what I'm doing. Like I actually swapped over to the ISO cuts from after Chicago through to the Olympia. Troy had been using it, and he said, look, take advantage of the fact that it's got a little bit of caffeine in there and sort of give yourself a bit of a pep up. Because traditionally I had sort of been using more the Synergy Superior Whey. That's sort of like the mix that I'd been using at the time. The glutamine is actually the one thing that I don't, like I travel with my glutamine, and I don't get sick that often. Like I see people sort of around me, suffering from the flus and all that sort of stuff. But what it does for recovery, but also boosting the immune system. That's probably my one sort of staple
that always there. For me it's that and the amino recovery.
And obviously, I didn't tell Troy I stole all these samples out of the factory for the amino recovery because I didn't want to have to take the tubs. So I'm like, I take all the single serves, and that's I'm in the gym there, and I'm got my bottle with my amino recovery, and that's sort of wherever I train, I always take that. And the extreme carbs, I rely on that a lot for my pre and post workout energy, because I don't want to digest some heavier carbs, so that's always in there. And
that takes all the way through.
All the way through. Like I just reduce the amount if I need to reduce my calories a little bit, and that's with everything. But
that's really what people have to keep in mind when they're trying to be athletes or bodybuilders 5 or 6 days a week training. Is sooner or later you will get run down. So take advantage of all the good nutrition you can take advantage of, because as people say, you can't burn the candle at both ends. If you're pushing yourself almost like an Olympic athlete, even though bodybuilders don't realise they do, but they do because of the stress, and you're eating like a guy who just goes and plays pool at night, something's going to give.
It's going to
Well, that thing, like I eat 6 meals a day, and only 2 of them contain, a tuna or a chicken. The other 4 meals all contain protein powder as my protein source. So, I guess the Americans freak out at that because they are the opposite. They're like, oh, 1 protein shake a day, well, that's all I need. I'm like, no, I digest that a lot better.
Well, we were just talking about that this morning. My first show, all I used was completely international protein stuff. No, nothing. It was there. That's what I fed myself with 6 days, 6 meals a day. The extreme mass, and I would blend. I would use, if I wanted a little bit more WPI content, I'd have 1 scoop of Synergy and then 1 scoop of WPI, and I'd mix and match that way. And to this day, I have my WPI in probably up until the day before the show. And I find that one of the shows I took it out a week early and I came in really flat. Now I find it actually helps me stay harder. Recovery, I don't get stalled when I pose and things, so I keep it in. And that's with the flavors and everything else. So it's good for me.
Yeah.
I always get asked, everyone wants to know what your favorite flavor is.
It actually swaps around. The chocolate isocuts is there is nothing comes close to that. The other thing I'm addicted to at the moment is the Naturals hydrolyzed whey in chocolate. That choc multi flavor. It's like, if I could eat that 6 times a day, but I have to have my different types of protein for different reasons. But it's like that's almost like a dessert snack.
Does it help? Like if you have cravings and instead of having like a piece of chocolate or something, would you have it?
No, because if it's not on my diet, there is no. I'll have this. I have that. If it's off season, yes, you'll find me eating that with some cereal and some yogurt and stuff like that instead of a chocolate bar, because it's definitely a lot better for me. And the older you get, you can't sort of handle that sort of stuff. But no, if it's on the diet, if it's diet time and it's not on the diet, it doesn't go in. But my other favorite, I'll swap between Turkish delight and chopped banana in the Synergy.
Oh yeah,
love that type of flavour. But
Matt Stevenson's tried to steal my Turkish delight a few times.
But the vanilla in the Synergy or the WPI is pretty much that's the go back to. So I'll just sort of rotate between different flavours.
Oh no, well
I'm sort of spoiled. I can just take whatever I want out of the factory.
You just keep alternating. Well, the other question I have for you, obviously you've got your set plan for now. So we're definitely looking at doing the Olympia next year.
I'm definitely looking at re-qualifying. We've heard that there's 6 qualifying shows now. So in terms of the point system, other than an outright win, that's looking like we'd have to do about 2 to 3 shows depending on placing. So, already Omaha and Chicago were great shows. I've heard that there's one of the new shows that's been added in Texas. Not sure exactly where in Texas, but until I see the schedule, obviously being in Australia, it takes a little bit longer to get to us. Depending on where that falls, and when the comps fall, we'll have to decide on
you
that.
Got to take travel and all that into account as well.
Yeah, it's really the timing. Like if you could bunch a few shows together, that's always a lot better than having to have that sort of 5-week break back and forth because it's too long to stay away.
It's a long flight.
But definitely, we've sort of recently, with the last couple of months, changed gyms to World Southside.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger gym than we've trained in for the last 4 or 5 years, a lot more equipment, and we're having some really good training sessions there, and we've got a set plan already for next year's comps.
Yes.
So hopefully everybody will be excited and interested to see the changes and the improvements that we can make in the year.
Yeah,
but we're definitely pumping out some good sessions at the moment. We've had a fair bit of travel with all the competitions the last 8 weeks. So we've got...
and I heard you guys are also exporting to a few different countries now as well.
Definitely. Yeah, so we've got just a little more travel over the next couple of weeks to the World Powerlifting Championships down in Sydney in a couple of weeks' time. Then pretty much we're set till next year when Christine competes. So that's really, as a bodybuilder, what you want. You want that regimented army. You get up at the same time, eat at the same time, train at the same time sort of day.
Yeah. In fact, I find I'm more comfortable that way, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I stress out when things are a little too spontaneous. I have to be prepared to be spontaneous.
That's exactly right, yeah.
That's exactly right. A lot of planning goes into the spontaneity of travel.
And definitely, I think all of us are excited with the Arnold Classic in Australia next year. Not only to see the pros that'll come straight from the Arnold over, so it'll be a very good field in the pro ranks, but every decent Australian bodybuilder is busting their guts to go to this show.
The Queensland and the Nationals amazing. Like to see that many novices, juniors, and then the open classes, particularly up in the under 90s and the under 100s. Like
they were insane.
They were insane.
It was the first time that you could look up on stage and not. 80% of them were on the money.
Yeah.
Usually you can pick the first 2 or 3 quite easily. This one you're like, I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, so, it's definitely an exciting time to be in Australian bodybuilding internationally and nationally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you find the judging criteria is a little bit different between national versus international?
I suppose it's a long time since I've done a national show.
You'll have as much trouble picking a pro winner as an amateur winner.
Yeah.
Like, it's always a hard thing. Like, you can have 2,000 people in the crowd. 1,800 agree with first, second, and third. 200 don't. And because you're not sitting right where the judges are, looking at the same lighting and that, it's always hard to tell. Like you can sit in the 5th row and look at 5 smooth guys, or sit in the 2nd row and see 5 cut guys.
Yeah.
So I never like to get too much into who was picked for what reason, because it depends where I'm standing.
I remember when I was at the Arnold Classic, Nadine Jones took me over to have a look, and when we were competing backstage, I couldn't fault one single person. There were just every single person would look like a freak. And then when I watched the pro show, I've seen it obviously on stream and on TV. Seeing it live was a whole different level again, completely. And then after that pro show, I was watching everyone on social media comparing who should have won. And then they've got pictures, and pictures are a moment in time.
Yeah, pictures don't really show 3D-ness.
No,
I remember years ago when we went to the Olympia, probably one of the first times we went, and Ronnie was first and Kevin Leverone was second, and Ronnie was like another person. Kevin looked like a little boy next to Ronnie on stage in real life. Get the photos back and it's like, it wasn't that much difference between them in the photographs, but the photos didn't capture just that 3-dimensionalness that Ronnie had. So that is always the thing with photographs. And as you say, you can get 3 different photos taken at the same show, different photographers, slightly different angle. People can look totally different. So.
No, I've noticed that watching. I've been blessed enough to watch a few pro shows. I actually paid for my brother to come with me to Melbourne. Just say, man, you've seen it on TV. Completely different thing seeing it in real life.
But definitely for international protein, next year's going to be an exciting year. We're just waiting on some clearances from America with export documents, things like that, and then we're launching our company in America. So
fantastic.
To all the distributors bringing over every second brand that either has been non-existent or maybe slightly existent in America because they're bought on price point quite often. We're doing the opposite. We're taking our brand to America.
Well, I have to. I'll share this because a few people know. When I first started looking for alternatives from the hospital food, I tried every single product there was, and I chased you guys up purely because I felt the best with it. For me, flavor wasn't an issue. But the one thing I do get is everyone always, just because it's an American product, people put their hand up straight away, and I often have to say to them, look, take a breather, have a look at what we have. And I think our athletes, especially international protein athletes, are a testament to that.
Yep.
Because their product speaks for itself.
Yeah, well, we've also had a really, really good year with our sponsored athletes and the athletes that Christine's supported as such, with a little bit of advice and guidance along the way. We've actually managed to crank up three Australian titles with women's bodybuilding and figure.
Yeah.
And we've had a wealth of other sponsored athletes like Louise White and that we help with the sponsorship, but obviously he's trained by somebody else who's also won a title
at the nationals.
Yeah, so as far as our stable of athletes go, we're actually going very well.
I States and then nationals last year. Went to Arnold's, makes us as well, just always killing it. And we seem to always bring the same things. I see him having extreme mass post-training.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's cool, that's my boy. I mean, so it definitely speaks for itself. And the fact that you're going to be in the States, I think that's incredible.
Yep.
That will be a big drawback.
Yeah, and that also, we're sort of working with the girls, the girls that I come in contact with, and they want to try another protein, and we get them onto the IP, and again, they love it. They love the flavors. They love, again, the same comment. Oh, it sits really well in my stomach, digests really well. I feel good on it, and a lot of them are pretty fussy about their protein. So that's really.
Well, I know. Yeah, no, my wife's the same. But for me, flavor is not a non-issue, and I've just always felt pretty comfortable, and all my athletes use them. And I often say to them, you need to try what works for you. This is what works for me, and honestly, 100% of them always come to international. Well, the other question I have for you, just because we brought up training, I have to ask, everyone asks the team, if you could pick 3 things for leg development, we're not talking exercise, just attitude and different techniques, what would they be?
Yeah, I've just passed that one over to Troy because that's the thing. Troy is my trainer. I just say I'm the workhorse, and I do what he tells me to do most of the time. A few arguments.
I have a theory when it comes to leg training or any training. Weight's good, but weight doesn't create size unless you're doing correct form.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in arse to the ground squats, but I believe in squats. So 3/4 healthy for your knee squats.
Yep.
Because you can squat heavy for 2 years and give up, or you can squat heavy for your lifetime and be healthy and have good legs.
Yeah, good knees too.
Leg extensions and lunges would be the 3 major exercises. If you didn't do anything else, you'd still have good legs. But unfortunately, legs like back, there's a lot of muscle groups involved. You got to hit it from a lot of angles, a lot of reps, a lot of sets. Leg press you can do from 3 different foot positions.
2 different types of lunges.
Yeah, forwards lunges, backwards lunges on a Smith machine. So as many angles as you can get in on legs, don't limit yourself to 10 reps. Try to go maybe 15 or 20 reps always. So you're recruiting more muscle fibers. Unless you're an incredibly lazy person that's only ever sat on the couch, your legs are a lot fitter than your arms.
Yeah. So you can do a lot more.
So you have to do a lot more to stimulate your legs. I think if you get fit for legs, you probably enjoy leg training. People who don't enjoy leg training, means they're not quite fit enough.
Yeah. No, I've noticed. Well, my leg training's been slightly, because that's one thing I've always had to bring up, and we've actually split it up over 2 to 3 days sometimes because there's so many muscle groups to try and get from so many different angles as well.
But the main thing to keep in mind with training is don't look at your training partner and say, if he can squat 3 plates and I'm squatting 4, I'm doing better. 3 plates for him, he might be absolutely killing himself and he'll grow quicker. 4 plates for you might just be a strong guy with thick tendons and you're not killing yourself. When you finish training, I don't mean the day, I mean each set, that should have hurt you on that set, and that should be as much as you can give to that set. And if you do that set, every time you do your either 1 set or 4 sets or 6 sets, and you do that for every exercise, you will be a great bodybuilder. What most people do when they train is rest for the 1 big lift.
Yes.
You go, why aren't you going heavy on leg extensions today? I'm going to squat big. And then they do 4 sets of squats, but it's only 1 set that actually lift. You're not doing enough work to recruit enough muscle fibers. Why are you just doing 1 plate hack squats today? Because I'm going to squat big, or I'm going to leg press big. You go, do every exercise like that's the only exercise you have to do for the day, and then worry about the next exercise when you get to it.
That's it.
And if you do that, you will grow.
That's it.
Mentally, that is especially very close to show that is actually how I get through a training session. It's 1 set at a time. I just need to get through this next set.
Just knock it off.
I don't think about the workout. I don't think what I have to do. I just think about what the next thing that I have to do and give everything to that one.
I don't believe when you start training, everybody goes, the first 3 months you train, that's the best gains you'll ever get. I go, no, you may notice those gains. The reason you get such good gains is if you try to dip when you first, like tricep dip, when you first start training, you're wobbling all over the place. You'll wobble from the first set, from the first rep, and you'll still get 7 or 8 reps out. But once you've been training for 5 years, you never train that hard. You never push that hard from your stomach. If you can get back to pushing that hard, you'll keep those gains going, and you should keep those gains going because you've got more muscle fibers to recruit. you know how to push the weight, you're smarter, you're doing more exercises where you're lifting a better weight. So it's just keeping that intensity the whole time. Yeah, like if you look at Kai Green, regardless of what you think of him as a person or if you go watch him train, you will sit on the floor and cry and go, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah,
because he trains that hard.
Stop. Yeah, no, that's
like, that's a guy that'll train and be crying from the pain halfway through a set and still do 15 more reps.
Yeah.
You go, no way.
Yeah, that's what, if there's no reason for your body to change, it won't. So you have to stimulate it to change. No, that's fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much. I know you're busy as. I really appreciate this quick chat, and I'm sure people will definitely be following you. International Protein, it does have a Facebook page, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yep.
And I see you guys are doing a lot more activities on that as well as
definitely.
that side. So anyone got any questions, they'll just hit you up on that.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody sees us at World Southside,
Southside.
Yep. By all means, come up and say hi and ask us a question if you want to.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I think most people, especially at their gym, they tend to be quite respectful. So when they see people training, they let them finish their sets and do their thing. So I think a lot of bodybuilders and stuff love training there because of that. And then once people are done with their sets, I think people would love to come and say hello.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Pedro. Thanks for taking the time to interview us.
That was awesome. I really appreciate it.